Hi everyone, welcome back to Skills for Chasers. I hope you all have already gone through the previous 5 chases of Power BI. So in this chase today, we're going to start off with Power Query. See, Power Query is a feature of Power BI Desktop which helps in the data cleansing, data preparation, and also automating that entire process so that you don't have to do those same data cleansing steps again and again. So let's get started on that and let's see how it works. So this was the report that we had created in the previous chase, and we are going to continue on the same report over here. So guys, if I just take you back to the previous videos, over there, if you remember, when we all started off this activity, so what was the first thing that we all did? The first step was making a connection to the Excel data source, right? We selected that Excel file, and from where the data was loaded into this Power BI desktop file. The moment we load the data, that's when what happens is Power Query comes into action. Let's see that up. So over here, if I'll come and click on transform data. So if I click on transform data, so what's going to happen is, and another window is going to open up on my machine. And this window is actually a part of that Power BI desktop file itself. It's not some other window or something, as a separate tool altogether. It's a part of that same Power BI file that we have been using. And if you will see over here, when this window opens up, you will see at the top, it's written as well that this is Power Query Editor. Now, all the steps in terms of data cleansing, data transformations are done over here. The first thing that will take your attention over here is, that is the ribbon. This is the entire ribbon that you see where you have different type of options to perform different data cleansing steps. In the middle over here, you will be able to see the glimpse of that entire data. On the left hand side, you have the name of the tables that you have loaded in the Power BI. And on the right hand side over here, this is called as applied steps. Now, applied steps is basically the most important part that we need to understand. So now I'm not going to do anything. First of all, we will just focus over here on applied steps. As we were discussing, the first thing that we did was we made a connection to the source. So you can see over here, Power BI has captured a step for that where it has maintained the information that what was the source of data. So you will see over here, this is called as formula bar, where it's written that the source of data is Excel workbook. And over here, you have the path and the file name. Now, this is something which Power BI has stored. Now, in the next step, what happened was in that Excel file, there were multiple sheets, right? So all the sheets were visible to us. And while starting that whole activity, we clicked on the sheet of orders. That was the sheet that we had selected. So in the next step, navigation. So what happens over here is the data from that sheet orders is loaded in the Power BI. Now, when the data is loaded, so you will see the headers are not coming properly. So that's where the third step was automatically applied by Power BI. See, this is still here. We have not done anything. All the things are done by Power BI desktop itself. So in the third step, it promoted the headers. That means Power BI understood that the first row is a part of the header, not the data. So that's what happens in the next step. And then in the fourth step over here, what is happening is data type is assigned to each column, right? Like for example, if you see in this data over here, this is column of row ID, everything is number. Over here, we have numbers plus character, that is order ID, which is alphanumeric data. This is date, and likewise, every column has a specific type of a data. So what happened is in the fourth step, change type, Power BI automatically assigns a data type to each column by reading and understanding what type of data we had in each column. Now, see, this is very important, interview tip, a question as well. So in this case over here, when the data is loaded in the Power Query by default loads only top 1000 rows for the profiling. Maybe in your data set, you had 20,000 rows, 10 lakh rows, 30 lakh rows. But over here in this, it loads only the first 1000 rows based on which all your data type assignment and everything is being done, right? Although that 1000 rows are just a sample, but the profiling is happening for the entire data, right? Say, for example, now just take this example. in the first 1000 entries of row ID, everything was number. But in that column of row ID, right, in the column of row ID, somewhere after the 1000 row, there was a character data. Something like ABC, Apple, something was written over there. So what will happen, because Power BI has already defined the data type as numeric based on the first 1000 rows, right? So what will happen, it will reflect that data as error because it can't convert a character into a number. So that's where this profiling actually helps the Power BI. Now in case, in this column of row ID, right, now I am saying, like, first we took the example where that character data is coming after 1000th row. Now, for example, that Apple was written within first 1000 rows, right? That word Apple was written within first 1000 rows. In that case, because in the first 1000 rows itself, it is getting some character data. So by default, Power BI would have taken the data type as character, not as number, right? So in the first 1000 rows, if everything is number, it will be numeric. In case there is even one data which is a character, it will change the data type to character. So guys, please remember, Power BI works only on the structured data. If the data is of multiple types, either it will be reflected as an error or the data type will change to character itself. Now, in case if you feel that the data type that is being assigned by Power BI is not correct, you want to change it. So nothing to worry. You can just click over here on this icon and the data type can be changed as well. So if you click on this icon, so I can change the data type to whatever format I want. Right? Similarly, if you want to rename a column, you can just double click on that. Suppose I want to rename it as transaction ID. So if I rename this column, you will see the moment I have renamed this column, a step has been added over here, which says renamed columns, right? So any transformation you do in the Power Query, it will keep on adding the steps over here. The reason for that is because when you refresh the data, these steps will be re-evaluated and the data will be brought in the right shape by following these steps. Now, please remember, guys, in the Power Query, your undo doesn't work, right? If you want the original column name to be back, so you will have to click over here on the cross icon to undo that step, or probably I will say bring the previous data back. So if I just delete it, see, my previous name order ID can be seen over here. Oh, now, for example, when I have loaded this data, suppose I feel that I want to remove certain set of rows. So I click on the option of remove rows over here. You will see this remove rows is coming. Sometime because of the screen resolution on your system, it might happen that, remove rows and keep rows might come as one grouped item as reduce rows. Nothing to worry. Click on the reduce rows and you will be able to see those two options over there. So if I click over here on remove rows, I am saying I want to remove top rows. So if I say remove top rows, it will ask me how many rows from the top you want to remove. I say 10. So top 10 rows are removed, right? You can see row IDs have changed. So basically first 10 rows have been removed. If I say I want to remove bottom rows, if I say remove bottom 10 rows, it will remove the last 10 rows. Now, please remember, it will not remove the last 10 rows of the first 1000 from the entire data, right? From the entire data, the last 10 rows will be removed. If you want to remove alternate rows, right? So I am saying that starting from the row number 1, now remove 2 rows and then keep 3 rows. That means from the first row, it will remove the next 2 rows, then keep the 3 rows, then remove the next 2 rows, then keep the 3 rows. So that's how you can remove the data alternatively, right? So it starts removing the data likewise. 13 and 14, 15 are there. Then starting from, then 3 rows are missed. Then 16, then again, 2 rows are missed, 16 and 17. Then again, the next 3 rows are kept and then 2 rows are removed and 3 rows are kept. If I want to bring that data back, so I will simply click on this cross icon of the remove alternate rows and my data will be back. If I say you want to remove duplicates, right? Now duplicate, how do we remove that? If I press Control A, if you press Control A, that's going to select the entire data for us. And now I will say remove duplicates. Now what will happen? Any row which is a duplicate, that row will be removed. If you want to remove the rows which are duplicate on the basis of one single column, you can just select that column. For example, I select order ID and I say remove duplicates. So wherever the order IDs are duplicated, they will be removed. So you all will see 2 times over here, this step has been added, right? Because we have removed duplicates 2 times. So that step has been added twice over here. So if I want to undo it, I'll just delete the cross signs. Now you see the duplicate data which we previously removed is now all back after we have undone those steps. Similarly, you have an option to remove blank rows in case your data has some blank rows in it and you want to remove that. Like the row has to be completely blank, like not just 1 or 2 values, the complete row has to be blank. So if you say remove blank rows, the complete blank rows will be removed. And similarly, if your data has some errors, right? In certain rows, there are some errors and you want to remove those rows. So you can say remove errors. So any row which was having an error inside it, that will be removed from here. So now if you see, we have seen how we can clean the unwanted rows with the help of the Power Query. Now, similarly, if you want to remove the columns, right? If you feel that row ID column is not required, you select the column, and if you say remove columns, and I say remove columns, see, the column can be removed. And if I undo it, the data will be back. Similarly, over here, you also have the feature of filtration, right? Like certain times it happen that there is a particular data that when you are loading it from the, Excel or some other database, suppose you don't need that data at all, right? So if suppose I'm saying in the column of shipping mode, and I don't want the column, I don't want the data of same day. If I uncheck it, it's like the way we filter the data in Excel, same thing will happen over here. And if I click on OK, now the data of that shipping mode is not loaded in the Power Query over here. Once you have done certain steps, you just have to click on close and apply. The moment you click on this, you will see all the changes that we have done, that data will be cleaned up and your report will update according to that. See, now the Power BI is just applying those steps and the data will be cleaned up. So in this video, we will keep the thing still here, and in the next video, we will be loading a data which will be in a very bad shape and appending it and exploring the Power Query to the next step ahead. Thanks for watching, everyone.